After you have read all the materials of the information section and have firmly decided to become a participant of the project, you have to complete the registration process. To do this, you need to click on the registration under the search box. Before starting the registration, I strongly recommend you to read the rules of the web resource in the registration form that appears, because there are all points of the forms for filling described in detail. After clicking on the question mark, you will receive comprehensive information about the requirements to the biometric photo you upload, because if your photo will not satisfy described requirements, you cannot successfully complete the registration process. After completing the form, click on the button to sign up. Within 24 hours on your email, you will receive the confirmation of successful registration or a list of problems due to which registration was not successful. After receiving the confirmation, you can authenticate on the site by clicking on the word Sign In and entering your login and password into the corresponding fields. After clicking on the Sign In button, you will automatically go to your personal account. This is the main page of the social network ENEBRA. For the convenience of the participants, by its interface, it is the most similar to the social networks which we already know, such as Facebook and Contact. But it differs radically in its appointment and functionality. Because the social network is the prototype of the future ENEBRA application, I'll describe in detail how to use it and about all the opportunities which it contains. For more coherent and logical narration, I'll begin with the members' personal page, not the main, on which you can go by clicking on your name at the top of the page or in the top line of the right menu. Being on the personal page, it is also called the profile page. You can change the cover photo and the profile photo by clicking on the camera icon and downloading it from your computer. You may not upload a profile photo. In this case, your biometric photo will be used, which was loaded during your registration. A profile photo should contain nothing other than your face in an arbitrary posture. During the first entering of your personal cabinet, you need to complete the filling of your personal data and tune the main feed to your preferences. To do this, click on the Personal Data tab under the cover photo. The opened page has its menu on the right side of the screen. Let's study all the points of the menu. Basic data. Here are the data that you have already partially entered during the registration, but there are other data that need to be added. Specify place of birth. To do this, choose from the list the name of the city or region, then the name of the town or district, the name of the administrative and territorial unit, city, town, settlement, or village, and select its name. Then, enter your patronymic name and your identification code. Now you can key in members of your family. It is necessary to do this to avoid possible coincidences of personal data of people while forming a public key, which I described in details. It is also necessary for the possibility of calculating resource equivalents for your underage children. To do this, click on the Add a Family Member icon and in the Appeared box with the drop-down list, select the relationship son, daughter, father, mother, brother, spouse, etc. There are two options for filling out the data. The first is manual, when the relative you add is not a member of the ENEBRA project. In this case, enter their name, surname, date of birth, and also their photo by clicking on the camera icon. If you enter your child and he or she is underage, then the possibility of entering the second parent, father or mother, appears automatically. If this person is already a member of the project, you just need to enter their personal number, which I'll talk about a little later, and click on the Send button. In this case, the project member will receive the message from you and be able to confirm this information. Otherwise, if the parent is not the project member, simply enter his or her name and surname in the relevant fields. After that, click on the Save button. The second option to fill out on request is when your relative is already a registered member in the project and has reached adulthood. In this case, you just need to enter their unique personal number. His or her picture will appear automatically, and after that, you just click on the Send button. The box will automatically be closed, and after your relative confirms receiving the message from you, the corresponding entry on the Family tab will be confirmed. After filling in the Family tab, check the keyed-in data once again and click the Save button. Within 10 minutes, the date of your registration will appear at the top of the page, and next to your biometric photo, the generated QR code with your registration parameters encrypted in it will also appear. Under it, your unique personal number will appear. I spoke about it when I told you about the possibility of entering it into the registration form of your family members in the On Request option. And the block number in the blockchain where the information about your registration is entered. From this moment on, your status becomes active, and your accrual of resource equivalents of ENEBRA to you and your underage children begins. In the story about the balance page, I will explain in details the mechanism of emission, accrual, and control of resource equivalents. After successful completion of registration, obtaining of a unique personal number and active status, the Guarantees tab will become active, which we will choose by clicking on it with the right mouse button. On this tab, you need to contact 10 registered project members who can confirm the correctness of the information you have entered. They can be your friends, relatives, co-workers, or just acquaintances. To make a request, you need to enter your guarantor's personal number and click on the Send button. After that, the guarantor will receive a message asking to confirm your personal data, and if he or she confirms it, you will see it in the form of a green tick mark next to the guarantor's photo, and to your status will be added 10% for each confirmed guarantor status. Once your status is confirmed by 50%, you get the opportunity to create personal publications, innovations and information blocks. After the status is confirmed to 100%, you get the right to vote. The system of guarantors was created to make it useless to create bots, really non-existent people, that would allow having the advantage during the voting. There are people who have more than one citizenship. It is for these participants that the Citizenship tab is created. In this tab, you can select from the drop-down list the country whose citizenship you have. After that, an additional form specially created for registration in this country will be downloaded. With the increasing number of members from different countries, the forms created by them for the convenience of their particular country will be added and improved. These data are very important for the project, as they give a clear understanding of the percentage of project members, citizens of a particular country having the right to vote, to the total number of citizens eligible to vote in that country. How this will be used you will understand in the course of my further narration. There is also an option for adding any changed data. Let's assume we need to change the surname or the data of the document entered earlier in the case of its possible loss. To do this, you need to click on the Add button. Since the blockchain does not allow you making changes to previously entered data, a new tab opens with the possibility to edit or add new personal data. After you edit or add them, you will need to click on the Save button. After, the blockchain system will fix your additions forever. You will see the date of additions and the block number in which they are saved. At the same time, your guarantors will be notified of the changes you have made, and they will have to reconfirm or disprove them. Any additions can be made not earlier than 24 hours after the previous ones were made. This is done to reduce the possibility of so-called DOS attacks. The next item on the menu is Contact Information. Click on it with the left mouse button. This page, as you guessed, is intended to save your contact information. The page is divided into two parts. The left one is for entering information and setting the access rights, and the right one is for displaying the data already entered and the possibility of editing and deleting them. This information is not entered into the blockchain and does not require confirmation of the guarantors. To key in a new phone number, first click on the drop-down list and select the type of phone, mobile, home, work telephone number, and so on. Then select the country and enter the number of the phone. After that, next to the entry line, click on the drop-down menu and set the access rights to the phone number of this phone. Public means that anyone who visits your page can see your phone number, regardless of whether he or she is a project member or not. If you set Only Me restriction, then only you will have access to the number. Using the statistical information, it will be possible in future to have general statistics on a particular telecommunication operator in a certain country without personalizing the owners of these phone numbers. Family means only members of your family whom you entered while filling out the previous page. Guarantors. This restriction allows seeing the phone number by all members of your family and all the guarantors you keyed in. Subscribers means that in this case, family members, guarantors, and all people who are with you in one specialization will have access, as well as all participants who subscribe to your information or innovations. Equal access. In this case, only those project members who have the same equal access to their phone numbers will have access to your phone number. After you have decided on the access rights to the information you enter, you need to click on the Save button. After that, the keyed-in number appears in the right box of the page, or by the Cancel button if you decide not to enter this information. Entering an email address or personal website is no different from the procedure that I've already described. The next step is to add a residence address. This is very important to do, since if you do not enter it, you will not be able to make decisions on local issues. You can set the access level to Only Me. In this case, no one will be able to see it, but you will be able to take an active part in making local decisions related and distributed to the territory of your residence. The process of filling out and storing does not differ from what was previously described. On the right side of the page, you will see all the information that was previously entered. If you want to change anything or change access rights, click on the Edit icon and this information will be loaded into the filling form in the left part of the page. After the changes, click Save and the information will be displayed on the right side with corrections or changes. In order to completely delete the information, simply click on the Delete icon. Now let's move on to the next point of the menu, Property. Entering of data on this page allows you participating fully in the decision-making at the level of property owners, regardless of the countries in which it is located and your location. The rules of filling out the changes and deletions for this page are no different from the previous page. You can enter an unlimited amount of your property. To do this, you must select a country from the drop-down list. The link to the state property register for which the following form of filling is made below will automatically appear. If you click on this link, you will move to the property register page where you can get complete information about your property. As the members from different countries of the world appear, the corresponding form will be developed taking into account the specifics and legislation of the added country. Now let's look at the next menu item, which is Hierarchy of Needs. I would like to say a few words about the appearance of this page and why it is needed. Creating a social network as a prototype of the future ENEBRA system, I tried to maximally approximate its functionality to the future target system. I was looking for the opportunity to give project members the opportunity to create and implement their innovations that would solve existing problems and improve the quality of all the inhabitants of our planet already at the level of the transition period. Since we live in a monetary system, the implementation of projects at this stage will require financial expense for the purchase of raw materials, equipment, and expenses for labour and so on. I have already said in the main presentation of the project that most of existent public organisations live and develop at the expense of human donations. That is the most powerful factor for them to unite. None of them wants to share the money. In addition, as soon as any organisation begins financial activities, it immediately falls under the state regulation of the country in which it is located. Therefore, the organisation is forced to significantly limit its freedom of actions. Thus, such an approach would be a dead end for the implementation of the project. I want to offer you my own quite possible solution, based on the already created and working mechanism possessing quite impressive assets. I will demonstrate this possibility on the example of the framework program for research and development called Horizon 2020, which was created on the basis of the Lisbon Strategy approved in 2000. People pay taxes in their countries. These taxes form the country's budget from the budgets of the European countries. Part of the money goes to the European development programmes approved by the European Parliament. Horizon 2020 is financed from the budgets of all the EU countries. There are 28 states and 16 associated state members. The main goal of the programme is to raise the competitiveness of the European states, to increase the number of jobs, to support scientific and technical progress, etc. The budget allocated for Horizon 2020 programme is almost 75 billion euros. This money is non-refundable and is given free of charge. Now, we will consider this mechanism in more detail. The programme Horizon 2020 receives from the state members not only money, it also receives so-called calls. This is the list of most important needs of the country's population in any technology or elaborations which are able to improve the quality of life of people and the environment in these countries. After that, these needs are considered by the Commission and are publicly posted on the website of the programme itself. Any company from the participating countries may submit its project for solving a certain problem by filling out the necessary package of documents. If the Commission, which consists of high-level professionals, recognizes this project to be the most rational, it begins to allocate irrecoverable money for the implementation of this project stage by stage. The result is a commercial product that is implemented for money of those who paid for its creation, that is, ordinary people. Unlike the country's transfer of funds, which are collected from all citizens of this country, the calls, unfortunately, are not created by all, but by a limited number of authorized officials in this country. And as I said, the interests and needs of the officials, managers, and ordinary citizens are very different. In this regard, if you carefully read the calls on the Horizon 2020 website, you will find everything you need to strengthen control, reduce carbon dioxide emissions, produce aviation fuel, and so on. But these needs do not have calls for the reduction in the length of the working day with the possibility of increasing wages, although this is quite possible with the application of automation. I did not find the need to receive free energy, to improve the quality and accessibility of environmentally friendly food products, or to develop recycling of weapons of mass destruction. In order to stop this obvious injustice, I created the page Hierarchy of Needs. I suggest that each project member think about what is most important for him or her today. For someone, it is the accessibility of quality food products. For another, the need for affordable and quality accommodation. For somebody else, it will be the increase in the quality of drinking water from the tap, so he or she will not have to throw away money to buy bottled water. All your needs should be ranged in a hierarchy starting with the most important. As your needs are getting satisfied, you should cross them out and/or change their positions. You can do this an unlimited number of times. Due to this method, we will receive real needs and their hierarchy from ordinary people and will be able to form the list of really important calls. In addition, having received a clear understanding of what is needed, we shall be able to focus our attention on creating innovations that gradually solve these needs. With the increase of the number of members from a certain country, it becomes possible not only to create calls, but also to offer solutions in the form of innovations supported by voting and tenders held during the voting. Thus, without any donations, we are able to attract the finances needed to purchase everything necessary and to implement the created innovations. Logically, the project may not directly interact with the program because it is not a legal entity. For this interaction, the ENEBRA funds will be created. But I will talk about their structure and specifics of the work a little later. On the Hierarchy of Needs page, there are 3 groups of drop-down lists. Hierarchy of Basic Needs includes the menu with all the needs described in the pyramid of Abraham Maslow. This looks like a breakdown of all existing needs, and because of this, the points in this group can recur. First level hierarchy. This menu contains details of each of the basic needs. For example, physical needs include drinking water, food, health, and so on. The points in this group can also recur. Second level hierarchy of needs. This is the main group, since it is the clarified hierarchy of your detailed needs. Here you must detail the need from the first level. For example, drinking water in this point should be clarified. This entails its presence, accessibility, or quality. These groups should be filled point by point. First, you chose the first point of Group 1, then the first point of Group 2, then the first point of Group 3, after that the second point of Group 1, and so on. After filling out, you can choose the access permissions and click Save. If you want to complement the current list or improve its structure, use the Create New, replace, or complement the list of needs box. If you want to complement an existing main need, choose it from the main list. If you want to change an existing one or create a new one, click on the lower checkbox and type in your name for it. Similarly, fill out the next points of the first and second levels. After filling out, type the explanation and reasoning as to how your structure or complementation improve the existing one. You can create a video with explanation and upload it by clicking on the corresponding icon. After that, you can click on the Preview button. A page with your innovation will be generated, and if you are satisfied with everything, click the Publish button. After that, your innovation will appear in the vote feed of all project participants. If during the voting, most of the project members vote for accepting your complementation or changes, then the innovation will receive the accepted status. And your changes will appear in the drop-down lists of the hierarchy groups. After that, you can sort them as you see fit. Now let's look at the last subpoint on the menu, Server. In the presentation of the project, I have already talked about the need for servers for storage of blockchain, innovations and information created by project participants. Each project participant can have only one server registered for him. A server is a computer that is always on, connected to the internet and having a white IP address. That means it has direct access from the global internet. A participant installs on this computer the open-source client software with installation instruction, which it is possible to download for free from the page of the ENEBRA project on GitHub. The technology of decentralized storage and distribution of information already exists. You can find it on the website of the project Storj. It is a project with open source code, which is supported by Vitalik Buterin, the founder of the project Ethereum. After you have installed the software onto your server, you just need to input your IP address into the IP field and click the Register button. The port field is set by default by the program. You can change the port value by default if the port on your server is already reserved by another application. The server software includes the heartbeat function. The point of this function is that the program transmits a signal into the internet about its active status with certain frequency. Other servers receive and record this signal. If, during the generation of a block of data, which takes 10 minutes, most servers register the active status of your server for more than 75% of that time, then after the block is generated, it receives the active status. And during the next ENEBRA issue, a set amount of resource equivalents will be added to your personal account as a reward for it. I will go into more details about this while reviewing the balance page. In the right box, you are able to see the current server status in real time. The overall quantity of blocks generated from the moment of your server registration, at what quantity of blocks is your server status recognized as active, and what amount of resource equivalents you received for the aforementioned quantity of active blocks. Next, I propose to go to the feed settings, for which you need to click the corresponding tab of the upper menu. The name of this page speaks for itself. On it, we will set what will be displayed on our main page in all 4 feeds. The page is split into 3 parts: industry, sub-industry, and specialization. Initially, your main feed will display only innovations and information about changes or complementations being made into the project, this social network, and the legislation that is being developed inside this project. Branches. ENEBRA and legislation cannot be excluded, and do not have sub-branches and specializations. All project members must independently take part in making decisions on these fundamental areas. Next, each member, based on his or her own interests and preferences, can include any branches, sub-branches, and specializations that are of interest to them. To do this, just click on the switch near the branch that you are interested in. Next, you will need to choose the sub-branch that you are interested in and include the specialization that you are proficient in. From this moment on, all innovations and information created by members for this specialization from around the globe will appear in your main feeds. You will be able to complement them and take part in decision-making in the chosen specialization via voting. The social network and the future ENEBRA application allows delegating the decision-making to a person that you consider a professional in this specialization. To do this, you need to type in the personal number of your trusted delegate and click the Delegate button. From this moment on, all decisions made by your delegate will appear in your voting feed so that you can ratify them. Without your ratification, it does not have the Made on Your Behalf status. At any time, you can take away the right of delegation by clicking the Delete button. You can include any number of branches, sub-branches, and specializations, delegate the right of decision-making in any specialization to any member that you consider a professional and has this specialization included for decision-making. In order to view all your delegates, you can click on the corresponding icon. You can also view all members that delegated the right of decision-making to you in the chosen specialization. To do this, choose one of your specializations in the drop-down list. All specializations that you chose will be displayed near the heart icon next to your photo. If the current list of branches, sub-branches, and specializations lacks those that you would like to use, you can add them yourself with the help of the Create New, Replace, or Complement a Branch, Sub-branch, or Specialization box. I have already described in detail how to use the box to create new needs in the corresponding list. The mechanism of this box is the same. Next, let's take a look at the Balance tab by clicking the left mouse button on the corresponding menu. This page belongs to the Statistical category. Here you can get acquainted with actual numbers regarding the general and personal information, ENEBRA issues, and resource equivalence accrual. The total amount of issued ENEBRA. Here is the number of all resource equivalents that have ever been created. The next three numbers are parts, which I described in detail in the main presentation. When they are added, we get the total number of all created ENEBRA. Since the core of the social network is blockchain technology, the next number shows how many blocks have been generated since the start of the system. The next figures are the overall quantity of members and the overall quantity of registered servers, relevant only for the last generated block. This information is very important because these are the basic numbers for issues and distribution of resource equivalents. The overall quantity of members is a composite number. It is comprised of active and inactive members. Right after the registration, the member has the status of active user. But if he or she does not show activity in the form of voting or ratification, creation or complementation of innovations, or creation of information blocks for more than 90 days or 12,960 blocks, then his status automatically becomes inactive, and the system ceases to accrue resource equivalents to his account. Therefore, every 10 minutes, there is an issue of ENEBRA equal to the quantity of project members with the active status. The overall quantity of servers is a sum of active and inactive servers. I have already described in detail how this status gets defined. Every 10 minutes, 31% is subtracted from the current amount of created resource equivalents and split equally between all active servers. The overall quantity of ENEBRA on your account. It is this number that is shown on the main page of your personal account. It is the difference between the accrued and retained resource equivalents. Your accruals are the sum of several shares. The person share. Every 10 minutes, if your status is active, you receive 0.5 ENEBRA. System maintenance share. If you registered a server and it is active, then your account will be replenished with the sum of resource equivalents calculated individually for each block, as I have already explained. The next component is accruals from referrals. The system of referrals is proposed, developed, and calculated by Mikhail Kryukov, and is designed to achieve several goals. The first is for registration in the system, you need a referral link from the person who invited you. This fact allows to significantly resist the creation of bots, non-existent people, since each referral bears personal responsibility for those whom he invited. The second goal is to motivate people to spread the information about the ENEBRA project. The project itself is replete with modern technologies and is creative enough. That is why it is complex to some extent for a rapid understanding, and its level of efficiency will increase in proportion to the increase in the number of participants. If a person is engaged in its dissemination independently, how he does it, personal communication, an article in a journal or a newspaper, a public speech, a creation of a video or a blog on the internet, the person spends his time that he would spend on his personal interests, spend it with people close to him or his children. And as time is the most precious thing a person has, it should be fairly compensated. This compensation is expressed in the fact that after registration, the member transfers 10% of the sum of all ENEBRA accrued to him or her for each block for 90 days or 12,960 blocks. This amount excludes accruals made to the underage children of the member. Every member can have an unlimited number of referrals. To send your referral link to someone, click the Copy to Clipboard button next to the referral link icon. After that, you will be able to insert the link into any document or commentary. Retained resource equivalents consist of only one point so far, transferred to your referral. This amount is those 10% that you transferred to the person who invited you to this project or by the efforts of which you received information about it. Next point is the amount of ENEBRA accrued to your underage children. While your status is active, the person share is constantly accrued to each of your underage children. After your child is able to register in the project and specifies you as his or her parent, the amount accrued to him or her will go to their personal account. Now let's move on to the next menu tab, Create an Innovation. This is one of the most important pages in your personal account. With its help, you can, on your own behalf, share your ideas, knowledge, scientific articles, discoveries, and ready-made developments with all mankind. Everything that will be created on this page, regardless of the outcome of the future voting, will be forever remained in the blockchain, through which your descendants, after thousands of years, will be able to read every word you wrote and learn about each of your discoveries. After publication, your innovation will forever be associated with your personal data, which will forever secure your copyright. Let's start with the left menu, which allows you configuring which of the project members will receive your innovation and see it in their main feed. The number behind the envelope icon shows how many members will receive your innovation. Initially, it shows all currently registered members and will go down as you set limitations in lower submenus. Destination. This submenu allows choosing members based on their residence or the location of their real estate. Initially, the trigger on the worldwide point is set as active, which means that your innovation will be received by all project members regardless of their location. In order to specify the location, you can switch the trigger to Target and choose the country from the drop-down list. In this case, your innovation will appear only to inhabitants of the chosen country. You can also see the number of project members who will receive your innovation. Next, you can choose the area, region, and type of settlement: city, small town, or village. Street type: avenue, street, or lane. The street name, house number, and so on, up to the apartment number. The next submenu allows specifying who exactly will receive your innovation: project member who lives at this address, or the project member who owns the property at this address. If you think your innovation is interesting for both categories, leave the All point. This point allows owners, wherever they are, to be aware of, actively discuss, and make decisions on questions regarding to all objects of their property, without the need to be physically present and spending time on ineffective meetings, which sometimes is physically impossible. After you have made your choice, click the Confirm button. Now, let's take a look at the Activities submenu. In this submenu, you can select members interested in your innovation by type of activity. The worldwide point is the same as in the previous submenu. The All point means that all project members, regardless of the type of activity, will receive your innovation. While using the Target point, you can specify the branch, sub-branch, and specialization. If you choose only the branch, then all members of its sub-branches and specializations will receive your innovation. After you have made your choice, click the Confirm button. You can use the geography and activity filters simultaneously. For example, you can choose a certain city and specialization, in which case only specialists from that city will receive your innovation. Let's move on to the Group tab. This tab allows creating a list of members to which you would like to send your innovation. To create a new group, you need to click the Create Group icon. To include the already created group, click on the corresponding checkbox next to it. To view or edit a group, click on its name. In the opened box, you can edit the group name by clicking on the Edit icon or delete the group by clicking on the Delete icon. To add a new member, you can type in his or her personal number or the first and last name into the search bar. The photo and the name of the chosen member will be opened for you. After that, just click on the Add button. At the bottom of the box, there is a counter of the number of members in this group. You can view all of them using the scroll bar in the right part of the box. To delete a member from the group, click on his or her photo and then click the Delete button. After you finish editing, click on the Save button for the changes to take effect, or click the Cancel button to cancel all changes made. You can create an unlimited number of groups and choose several groups at the same time. After choosing a group, click the Confirm button. It is very important to carefully set up the target group of members who may be interested in your innovation. Otherwise, the project members, who will consider your publication useless or that it in no way affects their interests, can cancel your postings with the help of a drop-down side menu on the main page of their personal accounts. In this case, your member rating will suffer substantially. Now let's configure the settings of an innovation. We will take a look at the Drafts tab a bit later. News category. After the launch of the social network, the news feed appeared on the main information page of the website. Each piece of news blog has its category and subcategory. It is in these drop-down lists you, by your own accord, determine the category and subcategory of your future innovation. Status of the innovation. By setting this revision time status, you agree that your innovation can be revised and improved from top to bottom by other project members. With this status, the next box, completion time, will become active, and you will be able to set the time for revision in the minimum and maximum timeframes accepted by the community. If your innovation is fully complete and you do not want anyone to revise it, you can set the completed status. In this case, the completion time field will become inactive and the innovation completion level will automatically be set to 4th, finished product. And after publishing your innovation, will immediately go to the voting feed. If the status is open for modification, then you will have to set one of the 4 possible innovation completion levels yourself. First, if your innovation is at the level of an idea. Second, if you have a prototype that confirms the reality of your idea. Third, if you are ready for mass production of the product of your innovation. Fourth, if you have a fully finished product of your innovation and you want to spread it. Next, you must choose a template from a drop-down list. Template is a consistent list of questions. It helps members from different countries structure their innovations and make them understandable to other people. As an example, I have created a template related to production. With the appearance of new professional members of different specializations, the number and quality of the templates will constantly grow. If you can see how it can be revised and improved, write an innovation about this, and if the community supports your idea, your template or modified template will appear in this drop-down list. After choosing a template, you can view it in PDF format by clicking the corresponding icon. The template itself is split into chapters that correspond to the innovation completion levels. After you have decided on the chosen template, you can proceed to write the innovation itself. The upper box has a question that you need to answer in the lower box. After you answer, click the Next button to load the next point of the template. The lower box will be cleared and you will be able to type in the next answer and so on until you answer all the template questions that you think are relevant. You can fully edit the text you input, insert photos and videos by using the editing panel at the top of the box. After completely writing your innovation, you can add the necessary files at your discretion by clicking on the Add File icon and uploading them from your computer. If your innovation is related to the creation of a software product, then upload the source code of your program to GitHub, insert the link into the corresponding field, and click the Add button. Next, click the Preview button. A page will be generated in the new box, at which you will be able to see how your innovation will look like after publication. If you are satisfied with everything, click the Publish button. After that, your personal data will be automatically added to the text of your innovation. The text and all the attached files will be passed through the hash function, and the resulting digest will be entered into the block generated at that moment. Your innovation and all attached files will be copied and saved on servers that are part of the ENEBRA system. After the block is generated and attached to the blockchain, the information about the innovation you created will appear in the news feed on the main page of the website, in the main feed of all your participants' personal accounts, and the files that you uploaded will be available for download and will appear on the download page. If during the creation of an innovation you have to take a break, you can click the Save Draft button. All your settings and the created text will be saved in the Drafts tab. At any moment, you can continue to work on the innovation by clicking on the saved draft. After the draft lost its relevance, you can delete it by clicking on the trash can icon. If, due to some reason, you want to clear all your settings and inputted information, click the Clear All button. Now let's move on to the new menu tab, Create Information. By its essence, this page is a simplified version of the Innovation page. Here, members describe events that they have witnessed in person. Having created this page, I want to offer all people an alternative source of information. It is not managed by television channels owned by those who have power. It is managed by real witnesses of the events taking place. In the modern world, we have only an official version of the authorities that do not like to show their drawbacks or lobbying from someone's interests. I hope a lot that this page will shed light on true causes and real events of the war in Ukraine and Syria and will allow stopping this madness based on misinformation of the population in the shortest possible time. By creating the information block, you personally guarantee the honesty of the information provided. It is on their basis that a history for future generations will be formed. The information block, as well as innovation, along with your personal data, will be forever recorded in the block. The menu settings are completely identical to the settings on the Innovations page. Try to set it as correctly as possible. Otherwise, your rating will fall proportionally to the members who blocked you. Choose from the drop-down lists the News category, and in the text box, write the text of your information and edit it using the Editor panel. If you want, you can add photos and video. With the help of buttons, you can make a preview, save the unfinished information in drafts, and to clear all settings made and to publish. On the Personal Profile page, we have two menus, Timeline and Blockchain, that we shall consider after studying the main page. Member Search field allows you finding any project member when entering his or her personal number or first and last name. If you click on the house icon, you will go to the home page of this site. On it, you will get access to the drop-down menu for navigation on the informative part of the site. You can leave your personal profile by clicking on the exit sign or return to your personal profile by clicking on your photo. Clicking on your photo or name, you will go to the profile page on the Timeline tab, about which I will say in more details later. The Main button serves to return to the main page. The figure next to the word Home means that there are 9 new notifications on your main feeds that you have not yet reviewed. Messages. The number in the upper right corner of this icon means that you have 3 unviewed personal messages from the project members. If you click on the label Mark All as Read, the counter of unread messages will be reset. If you click on the message New Message at the bottom of the page, a special empty messenger box will be opened. In it, you can enter the addressee using the search box, entering either his or her personal number or his or her name and surname. In the lower box, you can write the text of your message. You can attach a photo or attach any other file by clicking on the clip icon. You can insert a smiley face or a thumbs up character, then press the Enter button and your message will be sent. To close Messenger, click on the cross at the top right of the window. To view the received message, click on it in the drop-down list of messages. The Messenger box will be opened and you can read the received message, give an answer, or block the receiving of messages from this member by clicking on the gear icon and clicking on the corresponding inscription from the dropped menu. In this case, the member asks you to become his or her guarantor, thereby confirming his or her status. You can click on their photo and go to their personal page. After you study the information they have entered, you can make a decision. If you are ready to guarantee the correctness of the data entered, click on the Confirm button. Otherwise, press the Reject button and the buttons will become inactive. When you click on the inscription View All Messages, the drop-down box will expand to the maximum and you will be able to view all previously sent and received messages. The right part of the box shows the date and time when the message was created. Notifications. This box contains notifications about the actions of other users regarding your innovations, information, and tenders. You can also click on the inscription Mark All as Read to reset the counter of not viewed notifications. In this case, Daria made additions to your innovation, Methods of Learning a Foreign Language, below the date and time of the additions. How to create changes and additions to innovations we will consider when considering the innovations feed. If you click on Daria's photo, you will go to her personal page. If you click on the text of the notification, then instead of the main feeds, your innovation will be loaded and you will be able to see the add-on made by Daria. This mechanism will be considered further. If you click on the inscription View All Notifications, the notification box is maximized and you can view all the notifications received before. When you click on the Vote icon, the vote feed will be opened. The counter above the icon shows that there are 2 innovations in the vote feed that await your decision. We will examine the voting mechanism when we take a look at the corresponding feed. As in the previous case, the counter above the Tenders icon shows that there are 4 new entries in the Tenders feed that you haven't viewed. If you click on the icon, the Tenders feed will open. We shall take a look at it later. My Status. We considered it when we were learning the registration and filling out personal data. If the break between your activities in your personal profile does not exceed 90 days, then your status will be permanently active and you will be accrued with resource equivalents. Otherwise, the status will become inactive and the accrual of ENEBRA will stop. To make it active again, it is enough to create an innovation, publication or tender, take part in voting, and so on. Show activity in your personal profile. If you click on the My Status caption, you will be transferred to your profile page in the Personal Data menu. My Account. We examined in detail where these figures come from and what they mean. If you click on this title, you will be transferred to the Balance tab on the profile page. My Rating. We will look at this data while examining the Chronicle menu on the profile page. My Server. You can see the status of your server at any time. Of course, if you registered it. By clicking on this caption, you will be transferred to the Server tab in the Personal Data menu on the profile page. If you invite a new member into the project, don't forget to copy your referral link by clicking on the Copy to Clipboard button and send it to the new member to go through registration. The next box is My Subscribers. Perhaps you liked information or innovation blocks from one of the project members and you would like to see everything that this member creates in your feeds, regardless of whether you are included to receive such information. To do this, choose Subscribe to Innovations from a drop-down menu from any innovation of this member. If you, for some reason, want to stop receiving these postings, you can click on a Cancel Subscription point in a context menu. Do not confuse it with the Refuse to Receive Innovations point, because in this case, you will not be able to receive innovations addressed to you from this author and you will lower his or her rating. So the My Subscribers box shows project members who are subscribed to your publications. The number next to the caption represents their quantity. You can also subscribe to any of these members by clicking the Subscribe button. By clicking the All caption, the box will be maximized and you will be able to see all your subscribers. To the left from Feeds, there is a box of quick links. If you click on your name or photo, you will be transferred to the Personal Data menu on the profile page. Correspondingly, by clicking on the Balance caption, you will be transferred to the eponymous menu point on your profile page. The Edit Profile link will transfer you to your profile page, and the Feed settings will transfer you to the eponymous menu on the same page. You also have quick access to creation of a new innovation or publication, and by clicking on them, you will be transferred to the corresponding menus on your profile page. Event List. By clicking on this link instead of the main feed, you will see all planned events that you can join if you want to. You can also create your own event by clicking on the Create Event link and filling out the corresponding form. Now, let's move on to the main feed, Innovations. The number next to the name shows how many innovations you haven't viewed. This feed only has innovations that have Open for Revision status. At the top left corner of each block, there is a photo and a name of the author of this innovation. Near the heart icon, there are specializations that he or she chose for themselves, in which this member considers themselves a professional and understands. Near the calendar icon, there is a precise date and time of when this innovation was created. The light bulb icon shows the status of the innovation. As I said before, this feed only shows innovations that have the Open for Revision status. The precise date and time till the end of revision is specified after the status name. In this specific case, the author sets the revision time for 11 days. After the expiration of this period, this innovation will be inaccessible for revision and will be displayed on the vote feed. The globe icon denotes the geography to which this innovation applies. In this specific case, it is Target. If you click on it, in the box that appears, you can see all the members to whom this innovation was targeted. Below is the number of members at the date of publication of the innovation of those who has the right to vote. When I was talking about registration, I focused on the fact that only verified members have the right to vote. Because of this reason, this number may be different from the number of members to whom this innovation was targeted. The next icon represents the innovation completion level. Level 4 means that even without revisions and improvements, this innovation is completely ready for use. The next icon represents the link to the source code. Since this innovation does not have it, the icon is inactive. The next icon is Download. Its active status means that when creating the innovation, the author uploaded additional files for download. The number near the icon tells that the files were already downloaded twice from the download page by users. If you click on this icon, you will be transferred to the download page, and you will be able to download the attached files for examining, testing, or usage. The icon of one cogwheel means branch, 2 cogwheels means sub-branch, and 3 cogwheels means specialization. In this specific case, during the creation of the innovation, they were not configured, and because of this, they were not filtered. Next, you can use the drop-down menu, which we already examined. In this specific case, you cannot subscribe for this author because you are already subscribed to his innovations. Next, there is the name, image, and text of the innovation itself. To examine it completely, click the icon with 3 dots. You will be transferred to the page where you will be able to examine the whole innovation. Next icon represents co-authors, members who made improvements to this innovation. In this specific case, no improvements have been made. That's why the icon is inactive. There is a 0 next to it, and the Improve button is active. We will study its usage on the next example. The forum icon is active, and there is a 3 next to it that shows the number of comments made in the forum specifically created for this innovation. For each created innovation that has the Open for Revision status, a separate page of the forum is created automatically, so that the members could clarify aspects that they don't understand and ask questions to the author of the innovation. The forum is specially rendered on a separate page as all project members and website visitors have access to it. This allows significantly saving the author's time, since if a member wants to ask a question, he or she can probably find the answer to it if it was previously asked by another project member. You can write your own question or comment. To do this, use the special box, and after you finish inputting text, click on the Enter button. Or you can answer a comment. To do this, click on the underlined Answer caption near the comment you are interested in, input the text, and click on the Enter button. If you want, you can attach an image or an emoji by clicking on the corresponding icons. Let's look at how you can become a co-author and introduce your improvements on the example. The upper part of the innovation is similar to the previous one and differs only by initial settings and presence of the link to the source code, since this innovation is about the application for smartphones. The co-author's icon is active, and there is a number 2 next to it. That's the number of members who introduced their improvements. The Improve button is inactive. This has been made that the project members would not repeat the improvements that have been made already. Therefore, to introduce your improvement, you need to familiarize yourself with other improvements made previously by other members. To do this, you need to click on the co-author's icon. In the Appeared box, all improvements are split into 2 categories. Changes. This is a radical proposal of your vision on this innovation subject that denies the author's opinion. Therefore, in the future, when voting, members will be able to vote either for the idea of the author of the innovation or for the introduced change, since they are mutually exclusive. I will try to explain it using a real example. Rustem Ablayev has created the innovation mobile application, The Wave of Love. The point of this application is simple. It is a program that can be downloaded for free from the download page and installed on your smartphone. At 6 p.m., it will give a signal for 12 seconds in the form of the melody chosen by a user. During the short time, the application user mentally channels his love to the world, thinking about pleasant moments of his or her life and filling them with emotion. Since every time zone has a lot of residents, then with the increase of members at a certain time, millions of people will simultaneously generate an enormous amount of energy of love that will purify the energy and information fields of people and the whole planet. To remove blocking of consciousness, to create a positive and synergistic attitude of people for joint creative work aimed at improving the quality of life. Since there are 24 time zones on the Earth, every hour the residents of the next zone will send their energy of love, resulting in a continuous wave of positive energy which will constantly move around the globe. This application is based on esoteric, improvable knowledge in the scientific world, and it is quite natural that people of scientific or technical mindset can perceive this application as a dangerous tendency for mankind to withdraw to improvable and therefore false truths. In the given example, Alexander Iskra makes his own changes and justifications of his point of view. In order to read them, you need to click on his photo. After that, you will see information about the author of the change and the date of its creation at the top of the picture, and you will be able to study the essence of the change and its justification. I propose not to use this application as it can detrimentally affect the psyche of the younger generation. This application is based on mystical ideas unconfirmed by scientific research. Young people brought up on such ideas will be subject to belief in non-existent truths and will not be motivated by real scientific research and knowledge. In the voting system, which will be discussed later, there is no opportunity to vote against any decision, so it is very important to prepare in advance a well-thought-out and justified decision at the stage of open revision. The next type of improvement is a complementation. They do not deny the author's opinion, but only improve or complement some aspects of the innovation. Let's consider an example of this. In the appeared co-authors box, select the Complementations tab. In order to see it, you need to click on the photo of its author. As in the previous example, the date and time of its creation and the essence of the complementation itself will be displayed. In this particular case, the co-author translated the interface of the created application into English, thereby greatly expanding the number of possible users of this application. After you have reviewed all the changes and complementations already made, the co-author's icon becomes inactive and the Improve button becomes active. If the improvements you've learned do not contain your ideas, click on the Improve button. A special form that allows you to create your own improvements for the innovation you are studying will open. Initially, classify your improvements and select changes or complementations from the drop-down list. If you select the complementations point, you can translate the application interface into any foreign language. If this is your improvement, then activate the checkbox and select the language to which you want to translate this application from the drop-down list. After that, you should consequently translate the text of the innovation in the bottom box using the navigation buttons Previous and Next. If you have a different objective, then immediately go to the bottom box and write your ideas and grounding to them. In the upper box, you can use the Previous and Next buttons to scroll through the text of the main innovation. Once you have reached the paragraph you want to add your additions in the bottom box. After completion, you can upload your own files, add a link to your source code preloaded on GitHub and so on, as well as while creating your own innovation. If you are going to make changes, then the possibility to translate to the other languages will not be available to you. After you click the Publish button, your improvement will be recorded in the blockchain, and after that, it will appear in your updated innovation. You can create an unlimited number of improvements to any innovation. Now, let's consider the following feed, which is information. Why do we need to click on the information? By its structure, the information block does not differ from the innovation one. Due to the fact that there is no need to finalize and make a decision, there is no status and the possibility to improve this block. Clicking on the 3 points icon, you can fully explore the information block. Then you have to decide if the information was useful and informative for you, then click on the button Thanks. If, on the contrary, you think that you've wasted your time studying it, click on the button Useless. After you have made your choice, the results of the members who studied this information will be displayed. This was done so that decisions taken by other members would not influence your own decision-making. You also have the ability to subscribe or refuse to receive information from this author using the drop-down menu. Let's move on to the next news feed, Voting. This feed displays innovations that have their revision deadline expired, those that initially had the completed status when they were created, and those which have already been decided on by your delegates and need your ratification. The innovations in this feed are not subject to any improvements or changes. The member should familiarize himself/herself with all current changes and complementations and choose those which they consider the most accurate. Let's have a look at this using the example below. The project member, Sergei Kolchin, in his innovation, addressed to all residents of the Ukrainian town of Kropivnitsky, the renamed by the Verkhovna Rada of Ukraine on July 14, 2016, as part of decommunization, town of Kirovorad, offers to return the town its historical name, Elizavetgrad. The 2 next to the co-authors icon means that there were 2 improvements made during the open revision. In order to study them, you need to click on the co-authors icon and then click on the photo of the improvement's author. In this case, there is a change in the innovation from member Alexander Sherba that is mutually exclusive with the author's proposal. He proposes to leave the former name of the town of Kirovograd and equip the town with bicycle paths using the saved money. Thus, to motivate residents to engage in sports and thus reduce the level of disease among them. After you have studied all the proposed changes, the support button will become active. Next, choose the author or co-author whose option you think is the most accurate and click on the support button. Now go to the study of complementations. You can support all the complementations that you deem appropriate. After the time for voting runs out, the system will automatically calculate the votes, and this data will be added to the blockchain. All who participated in the voting will receive a notification about its results. If more than half of the members voted for the adoption of this innovation, it, along with the adopted complementations, is added to the register of adopted decisions, and any user, project member or not, will be able to familiarize oneself with this decision and the voting results. View the complete list of people who participated in the making of this decision and find out what decision each of them took. In order to practically implement his innovation, the author of the adopted innovation is responsible for notifying the relevant elected officials about the decision made. The list of these people with specific indication of their names and ranks is also added to the blockchain and is available to everyone along with the adopted innovation. In the vast majority of countries, the only source of power is the people. For instance, in the Constitution of Ukraine, this is written in paragraph number 5. But the people always exercise their power through their representative, senator, deputy, or other elected official. Therefore, the main task of the elected representative is to study the desire of the people and consolidate this desire at the level of law. This is the complex part, since it is very difficult for the representative to obtain a holistic understanding of the desire of the people who elected him. The proposed innovation system simplifies and completely solves this problem. After the decision is adopted by a majority of votes, the representative no longer needs to take responsibility and independently make any decisions. He only needs to fulfill the decision of his voters. This mechanism can be successfully applied at any level. For example, if innovation is adopted by the majority of citizens of a certain country, then the authorities must immediately consolidate it at the legislative level of this country. If such innovation is adopted in relation to the foreign policy of the country, then the representative of this country in the UN also does not need to make decisions. He or she only needs to fulfill the demands of his people. If for some reason the representative does not comply with the decisions, in most countries, criminal responsibility is provided for this, and if not, then it can be introduced with the help of another created and supported innovation. And even if the adopted decision will get blocked by the authorities, there is no need for revolutions, rallies, and strikes. since the names of these officials are permanently included in the blockchain, and hence they will never be elected to representational posts again. It remains only to wait for the next election and to choose those who directly created innovations that were supported by the majority of citizens. In the example with the renaming of the town of Kropivnitsky, the decision taken at the town level cannot lead to a rename, since the decision to rename was made at the state level by the Verkhovna Rada of Ukraine. But this decision allows the author of the innovation to create a new innovation and appeal to the citizens throughout the country. In this case, the probability of adoption of this innovation by a large part of the population of the country is very high. In this case, the decision will be immediately legalized by the representatives of the legislature, as this is the direct will and desire of the people of this country. Next, let's examine the example with the ratification of the decision made by your delegate, to whom you delegated the right to make decisions in a certain specialization when configuring the feed. In the example, Sergei Grazimov, in his specialization, mobile development, voted for an innovation and a complementation to it. Since you delegated to him the right to make decisions in this specialization, the innovation he adopted appeared in your feed. You can study it by clicking on the icon with 3 dots, and also to study all the complementations adopted by Sergei using the navigation arrows. After studying, if you agree with the decision of your delegate, you need to click on the Ratify button. Otherwise, if you do not agree with the decision of your delegate, do not click this button, in which case the decision will not be made on your behalf. Now, let's look at the last feed on the main page, Tenders. I have already talked briefly about the different innovation completion levels when considering the Create Innovation page. During the implementation of the second level, creating a prototype, and the third level, mass production, you will most likely need different means of production, facilities, machines and equipment, raw materials and consumables, energy resources and transportation services. In order for this to be granted, it is necessary to describe in detail everything you need and hold a tender for each required element. To announce a tender, you just need to describe in detail the item you need, its number, technical requirements for it, and so on, using any text editor. After that, open the Create Innovation page, and in the News category, select the tender point. Then select the category of the product or service from the drop-down list, transportation services, raw materials, production area, and so on. In the appeared drop-down list, select the name of the innovation for which this tender is carried out. After that, you need to enter the name of your tender in the bottom box: coal purchase, trucking, software development, creation of project documentation, and so on. Then click on the Add File icon. Attach the specification you created earlier, and click the Publish button. After that, your tender will be added to the blockchain and appear in feeds of all project members. Any member can download your specification by clicking on the Get icon. After studying it, they enter their offer and pricing into it and upload it by clicking on the Submit Application icon. After the tender ends, all submitted applications will be available for viewing. They will be attached to the created innovation, UGI-2 or UGI-3, so that the members, along with the adoption of innovation, could determine the winner of the tender by open voting. If you won the tender on the basis of the voting results, then after checking the quality of the element you provided, you will receive funds from the ENEBRA fund to the account you specified, which I will discuss in detail when considering the blockchain page. The possibility of conducting open tenders allows reducing corruption as much as possible, since the main shadow income of those in power occurs during the distribution of the state and local budgets. With the help of this tool, citizens will be able not only to create innovations, but also to conduct profitable purchases at the expense of the budget. For example, to purchase coal for the heating season, or collectively determine the contractor to repair the road or lay the heating main. This is a really powerful tool, allowing, at the transition stage, to maximally improve the quality of life of ordinary people. Now, let's move on to the Chronicle menu on the profile page. To do this, click on your photo or name at the top of the box. The Chronicle page is statistical and has its own menu on the left side of the page. The Innovations Author submenu contains all your innovations ever created. The upper part is the summary statistics for all innovations. The sort icon allows you to change the timeline of displaying your innovations in ascending or descending order of creation. The figure next to the number caption displays the total quantity of innovations you have created since your registration. The score icon displays the score for all your innovations. The mechanism of their calculation and accrual will be considered later on a specific example. The number opposite to the next icon indicates the total number of project members who participated in the voting process in all your innovations. The number next to the happy emoji shows the total number of members who supported your innovations, and the number next to the sad emoji is the total number of members who supported the changes to your innovations made by other members. The next number shows the total amount of downloads of the attached files from the download page. Now let's look at the examples of innovation blocks. Innovation 12. This is indicated by the figure in the upper left corner of the photo. Next, there is the name and text of the innovation. To fully familiarize yourself with it, click on the icon with 3 dots. At the bottom of the photo, you can see the exact date and time of publication of the innovation, the number of project members as of the date of its publication, the current status of the innovation, and the exact date and time of completion of this status. Next are the geography and activity filters that you already know of, configured when creating an innovation. At the bottom of the innovation block, you can see the co-authors icon. Its functionality is no different from the previously reviewed in the innovations feed on the main page. The figure next to the forum icon indicates the amount of comments. The Innovation Completion Level 4 tells us that this is a completely ready-to-use methodology for learning a foreign language. The next 4 icons do not have numerical indicators, since this innovation still has the open for revision status and these data do not yet physically exist. The last icon shows the number of downloads of files attached to your innovation. Since it is impossible to change your innovation because it has already been included in the block, if it is necessary at the stage of the opened modification, you can supplement and improve it by using the Improve button. We have already considered it in detail. The status of the next innovation is Decision Taken, so all icons have their own numerical values. Accrual of points. At the time when innovation is issued, the number of registered users is recorded, who were informed of the innovation that has appeared. Only they can further refine and vote for the decision. New registered users can only study innovation and participate in its discussion in the forum. The number of people who participated in the voting cannot exceed the number of registered users at the time of publication of the innovation. Their number is taken for 100%. If the innovation receives from 50 to 54% of the vote, then the rating of the participant gets 1 point. From 55 to 64%, 2 points. From 65 to 74%, 3 points. From 75 to 84%, 4 points. From 85 to 94%, 5 points. 95% and above, 7 points. In this particular example, the ratio of those who supported the participants is 87%. Therefore, the innovation receives 5 points. Since the innovation has been accepted by the majority of participants, you can notify the relevant officials about the implementation of this decision. This can be done with a registered letter, by telephone, or in any way that you consider most appropriate. This is an optional procedure, since the official's duty is to monitor all decisions taken by his voters independently. If you notified the official responsible for implementing your innovation, click on the Notifications button. In the box that opens, enter the date of notification of the name, surname, and position of the official, then click on the Add button. After that, the data entered by you will be displayed in the lower box. You can enter an unlimited number of officials notified by you. If you made a mistake, select the incorrect data and click the Clear button. After you have created the complete list, click on the Confirm button. The list will be entered in the blockchain and displayed on the Register of Decisions Taken page. We have already considered this information when we were considering this page. If, during the voting, your innovation was supported by less than 50% of participants, it receives the status of Not Taken Decision. In this case, points are not credited, and the notification button will be absent. Now let's move on to the next menu item. Innovation Co-author. The opened feed contains all the innovations in which you made improvements, and slightly differs from the previously reviewed. In this case, the date is not the creation of the innovation, but the date of making your improvements, and the classifier of improvements is added, additions or changes. There is no Improve button in this feed because there is no possibility to improve your improvements. If it is necessary, you can improve the innovation itself, and you may do this an unlimited number of times until its status is open for revision. The accrual of points is no different from the previously discussed procedure. It will be calculated in relation to the total number of members who participated in voting to the number of members who supported your improvement. The Notifications button can appear only in those innovations blocks that have the Changes classifier, and over 51% of voters voted for your changes. On the main page of the site, in the section of My Rating, in the column Innovation, there is a quantity notion, which is the sum of all the innovations you have created, and the innovations to which you have created improvements. Points are also the sum of the total number of points on the Innovations page, Author, and Innovations, Co-author. Let's move on to the next submenu of the Information menu. On this feed, all information blocks you created are displayed. The calculation and accrual of points is different from the calculation in Innovations. In Information blocks, the sum of the points is equal to the difference in the total number of members who thanked you for your information and the total number of participants for whom this information was useless. On the main page in the Information column, you can see the data of the total number of your information blocks and the amount of points awarded to you. Now go to the last sub-item of the Voting menu. On this page, in chronological order, all your decisions taken on the feed voting are displayed on the main page. The figure opposite the word number displays the number of your votes since registration in the project. The first column displays the exact date and time you made the decision on this innovation. The second column contains the name of the innovation. If you click on it, you will go to its full description. In the third column, the author of innovation is initially displayed if, next to his name, the indicator of the drop-down list of a dark green color indicates that there are co-authors in this innovation. If you click on it, you can choose from any drop-down list of any co-author of this innovation and see what decision you and other voting participants have made about improving it. The next column displays your decision regarding the innovation selected in the previous column of the participant. It can be of two types: I support or support an alternative. The next column is the same for the author and co-authors of this innovation, and shows the total number of participants who participated in the voting. The column showing the number of supported participants is individual for each participant from the drop-down list. The next column shows the exact time and end date of voting and is the same for all authors and co-authors of the innovation. The last column is individual and shows the final decision taken regarding each participant of this innovation. It can be of three kinds. The decision-making is in process, the decision is taken, and the decision is not taken. Now let's go to the Block menu tab for this. Click on it with the left mouse button. Blockchain is the heart and memory of this social network. Thanks to it, the information you have contributed, any decisions you made, information about the events you witnessed, your knowledge and discoveries will, on your behalf, be the property of all people and future generations. The system constantly generates new blocks and writes them in the hash sums of what was created on the network in the last 10 minutes. On this page, you can see the decoding of each block and personally check all the information for correctness. Enter the block number. In this field, you can enter any number of the block you are interested in, then click on the arrow. Opposite the word block, the number of the block you entered will be displayed, and all information contained in it will be deciphered at the bottom. You can also see in real time which block by the number is being created at the moment. When you visit this page for the first time, and if you click on the Revise or Synchronization button, you will be asked to install the Bitcase application on your computer with open source. This application will initially download and synchronize the entire blockchain of your computer or phone, so you will become the owner of an exact copy of the complete chain of the sequence of all the information ever entered into the social network ENEBRA. At subsequent entries on this page, you can make reconciliation. For this, you need to click on the button with the same name. After that, all the information on the web resource will be verified with your copy on your device, and you will receive a message about full compliance of information. Thus, you will always be sure that during the time of your absence, the information entered into the blocking information has not been changed. After reconciliation, you can click on the button Synchronization, and the accumulated new blocks will be added to those that are already on your device. The procedure can be automated if you set the Bitcase program to automatically synchronize. Now let's look at the information that is stored in each block. First, this is the block number in the blockchain. Next, its exact date and time of creation. The next line is the hash of the previous block. It is embedded in the body of this block to protect and save a sequence called a blockade. I already dwelt on this technology in detail during the main presentation of the project. The hash sum of the block, which we are now considering, is written next. The next line, users, displays all the current information about the registered participants of the project at the time of this block creation. The total number of participants in the project is the sum of two numbers, members with active status and members with inactive status. The number of members with an active status includes the number of members who registered during the creation of this block. The number of active members is highlighted in bold text, since it corresponds to the number of created resource equivalents. This procedure was considered in the study of the balance page. The next line is identical to the one just described, but it deals with servers that provide stability and data storage for the entire project. The number of active servers is also shown in bold, as it participates in the calculation of the share of resource equivalents for each registered member. The next figure shows the total number of existing resource equivalents at the time of the block creation. The figure is the sum of the three shares described below: the share person, the share maintaining system operation, and the Share Financing World projects. I described that in great detail during the presentation of the main project. Created innovations is the figure that corresponds to the number of published innovations during the creation of this block. The next line shows the number of information blocks created. Then the number of votes received. The next line shows the number of open and closed tenders. The next item is funds. At the end of the story about this page, I will explain in detail what the ENEBRA fund is, what it is for, and the principle of its work. The figures in this line show the amount of the total amount of financial assets on the fund's accounts at the time of the creation of this block, the amount that was received on the fund's accounts, and the amount that was withdrawn from the fund's accounts by decisions of the project members. The next line shows the size of the created block because only numeric data and hash sums are stored in it, distributed to the files stored on the servers. Its size will be very compact, which allows saving the entire block even on users' phones. For the convenience of navigation, you can switch between blocks using the arrows along the edge of the page. On the right, go to the next block. On the next, go to the previous blockchain. Each block contains more detailed information on all the above-mentioned figures. They are distributed on the tabs at the bottom of the decryption. The Users tab has its own sidebar and search bar for quick search of members in the list below. The New tab displays users who were registered during the creation of this block. Hash sums in front of the members are digests received after missing personal information is entered by the member during registration through the hash function. I have already told you about the work of the hash functions during the main presentation of the project. The number of members in this list corresponds to the extreme number in the stock users. The Made Additions tab has the list of members who during the creation of this block supplemented or entered new data on the page Personal Data. I spoke in detail about this mechanism when studying the corresponding page. The following two tabs contain a full named list of all active and correspondingly inactive registered members. Their number is indicated in the Users line at the top of the page. Since the presentation was created before the issue of the social network release, I did not fill them up to demonstrate the example. The next tab, Innovations, contains complete information about all actions that occurred with innovations during the formation of this block. The tab New shows all the innovations created during the creation of this block. Their number corresponds to the number in the item Created Innovations at the top of the page. Each author is given the name of the innovation. If you click on the drop-down list icon, you will see the digest of this innovation, and you can independently verify it by skipping the innovation materials through the hash function you use on your computer. The next tab, Made Additions, displays all the innovations that are in the status of open for revision, to which improvements were made during the period of the formation of this block. The name of the author is displayed opposite the author of the innovation. If you open the drop-down list, you will see the author of the improvement, title and digest of the improvement. The tab Change Status has collected innovations that changed their status during the formation of this block, for example, moved from the status of open revision to the voting status. If you click on the drop-down list, you will see a new, up-to-date status for this innovation, and a digest corresponding to the innovation itself and all the improvements made. In the following example, the term to vote finished, and according to its results, the innovation received the status of the decision. This information is displayed in the item Receive Voting Results at the top of the page. The next two tabs contain a full list of accepted and unsuccessful innovations at the time of the creation of this block. The Information tab contains information about information publications relevant to the current block. The New tab displays the publications published during the creation of this block. The tab contains information about the author, the title of the information publication, the digest that fixes the copyright and protects the publication from forgery. On the tab Fake Information, there is a list of information publications recognized by the project members as false that is not displaying real events. Any project member who sees false information publication can create an innovation indicating this publication and substantiating his point of view. If the members in the voting support his or her opinion by the majority of votes, the publication will get the status fake and appear on the tab Fake Information in the block being created at the moment. From the member who published false information, the points will be deducted from his or her rating, in an amount determined in advance by the project members by voting. Now go to the tab Servers. It displays up-to-date information on all servers registered in the project, ensuring its uninterrupted operation and safety of the information entered. In the New tab, you can see the member and the IP address of the server registered by him. The number of servers on this page corresponds to the numeric value of the line New Servers at the top of the page. On the tabs Active and Inactive, you can see the full lists of servers according to their status for this block, as I have already explained in detail the status of the server. Their number corresponds to the numerical values in the line Server relative to their status. The next Fund tab at the moment is inactive and will be developed and launched after the launch of the social network, but I will tell you what it is for and the idea of the mechanism of its operation. I have already touched the theme about the creation of the ENEBRA Foundation in the story about the framework program Horizon 2020. There are quite a lot of similar programs in terms of their scale and level of assets, which are equal to Horizon 2020. Only in Europe, there are not less than 4 such programs, not less than 2 on the American continent, and not less than 1 in the Asian part of our planet. Almost every state and even a city has the same, similar, smaller programs and budgetary, monetary funds for their implementation. But all these organizations live and work within the frameworks of the legislation of specific countries where they physically do their activities, and in most cases, they can work only with legal entities, officially formalized organizations and enterprises. There are no organizations and businesses in the ENEBRA project. It consists only of people who have their own biometric parameters. Therefore, it is needed a certain instrument to be able to interact and obtain the necessary assets. An instrument which would allow, without limiting the actions of the project, formally interact with existing structures for the transition period, and at the same time enabling each participant in the project to manage and fully control the results of his activities. It is exactly such an instrument that the ENEBRA Foundation should become. It is very difficult to create a single solution for all countries, because each country has its own specific legislation. Therefore, I will only talk about the general principles on which this tool will be based. First of all, anyone can create his own innovation and propose in it a package of documents developed by him for the opening of such a fund in his country. The fund must be a non-profit enterprise to minimize tax deductions as much as possible. The composition of the founders and employees of the fund in each individual country must not be less than 10 people and to consist of only 100% of the confirmed participants of the ENEBRA project, with completely opened personal data. A separate vote must be done for each candidate, and he will be considered as accepted if it is approved by the majority of citizens of that country from the project participants in the date of voting. The bank in whose accounts will be located funds of the foundation should be also approved by the majority of the project participants in this particular country, and to be able to make an opened interactive web page where all incomes and withdrawals from the fund's accounts will be displayed in real time. Each withdrawal of funds must be bound to a specific decision taken by project participants in the framework of the adopted action plan and the pre-adopted budget. In fact, the role of the fund's employees is a clear implementation of the decisions made by the network participants through an open voting. Before sending funds to implementation of specific projects, the participants of the system have to finalize and approve the action plan about creation and transition of mankind to the finished system ENEBRA. I will explain it in more detail further. After approval of the plan, we need to develop and adopt the budget. After that, we will have a full and clear understanding on what projects the fund's financial resources will be spent and in which proportions. All income and expenditure of funds will be added into the blockchain every 10 minutes, so any person will be able to openly and at any time receive the information about the status of the accounts of the fund, on what decisions and on which tenders they were spent. All funds that correspond to the requirements described above will be entered into the informational part of the site and become available for review to everyone. Money on the fund's accounts will appear through previously showed programs and private donations. Fiat money will rapidly lose its value during the development of the project, not only due to the vicious mechanism of their emission, but also by reducing people's belief in their value, and this is their foundation. Therefore, those who will spend it on technology and projects in time, which are necessary for the development of mankind, they be in bigger profit after the ending of the transition. Everything that will be purchased by the fund will be the property of people who invested their own funds in it, in proportion to the amount paid. It becomes completely open to all people on Earth. For example, to accelerate the completion of work on the project, it may be necessary to have ready technologies and developments over which commercial companies have worked for decades and have patent rights on them. If these technologies and patent rights will be redeemed by funds of the foundation, they will be open in the network for using by all people. You should treat this social network as nothing more than an innovation proposed by me. You can always make your own improvements and change any part of it. To do this, use the revision of the technical task to the web resource of the project ENEBRA openly hosted on GitHub. There you can upload all initial graphics files and program code for their completion and correction. After this, present your ideas to the vote of the project participants in the form of an innovation you created. The social network will constantly evolve and improve until the moment when it will be replaced by the developed decentralized application ENEBRA. Even now, during the creation of this video presentation, I changed the classification of improvements, making it more understandable. Now, when you click on the co-author's icon, the pop-up box will contain 3 tabs. The alternative is a radical proposal of his or her own vision on this subject of innovation which denies the author's opinion. Changes is a proposal that changes only some aspects of innovation. In this case, the member proposes to change the launch time of the LoveWave application and provides real justifications. Additions is a proposal that does not contradict with anything and does not change anything, but only adds not existing or unaccounted parts that improve this innovation. To go back to the original innovation, click on its title. All the sources are available for study and rework on the project page on the GitHub web resource. So if you have experience of creating social networks or some parts of it, do not hesitate and join to the development. Especially in contrast to existing social networks, where we only know the names of their original authors or existing owners, everything you do in this development will be added with your personal data into the blockchain forever, and you will be inscribed forever in history as a co-author of this world project. It is not necessary to invest free financial resources in the fund ENEBRA by people who have them and who want to speed up the process of the project implementation. You can independently pay for work to a programmer, a designer, or a translator whom you know personally and to whom you trust, who lives close to your location. Next, to add from your name the code created by him, design or translation, so in case of payment for the results of their labor, it will become your property. Thus, you will become a co-author of this project and become included into the blockchain as its full-fledged co-author. At the end of this part of the video presentation on the social network, I want to give answers regarding its work on a few of the most frequently asked questions to me. The first is how to avoid crashes and errors in the created software product from the beginning. Unfortunately, they cannot be avoided, because only those who do not create anything are not mistaken. Due to thousands of Edison errors, your apartments are filled with electric light. Therefore, I ask everyone, if you notice any discrepancy, even if you are not able to eliminate it yourself, draw the project member's attention to this error so that we can, as soon as possible, bring this product to the maximum stable version. The end of the third part. And the last, very important question of this part: when and how can you use the resource equivalents accrued in your office? The use of resource equivalents will become possible only after the launch of the fully, completely decentralized ENEBRA system. While working with the prototype social network, you will be able to only accumulate them on your personal account. There are several very important reasons for this. The first and most important reason is that when using resource equivalents, there is no mechanism for paying taxes, custom duties, etc., on which the current monetary system in which we now live and work is based. We do not have the right to stop supporting the old management system until we have created a new one and have not received a 99% guarantee of its operability. Otherwise, unforeseen and very deplorable consequences are possible. The second reason is that before the main application of ENEBRA is released, there is no possibility to fully use the biometric parameters of a person, and the social network cannot be 100% protected from creating bots, hacking, and interfering with its work. Thus, various kinds of fraud are possible in the system from which it is impossible to be guaranteed to be protected. When moving to a finished system, each participant will pass the full complex of his biometric parameters, and all the funds accumulated in his personal profile will be transferred to his biometric address. For this reason, it will be impossible to obtain the resource equivalents from several personal profiles, since one person cannot have different sets of the same biometric parameters. The third reason, I have already dwelt on this reason, talking about the weaknesses of the existing cryptocurrency. If you switch to resource equivalents in stages, people will begin to change them to existing fiat money, and since the cost of fiat money and existing cryptocurrency is physically impossible, the resource equivalent will turn into another thousandth cryptocurrency and will not differ from them. In addition, starting the use of resource equivalents, the ENEBRA project will provoke an absolutely adequate reaction of the governments of existing states. Some of them can officially recognize the resource equivalent of a financial instrument or currency that will inevitably lead to its state regulation through a licensing mechanism. Otherwise, the resource equivalent can be recognized by governments as a monetary surrogate, and for its use either administrative or criminal responsibility will follow. In any case, having started using the resource equivalent before a full-scale transition to a new management system, we give the existing governments full control over it, and this fact can significantly damage and slow the development of the ENEBRA project itself. At this stage, our task is reworking and testing the project mechanism itself and maximal dissemination of the information among the people of our planet. By the connection hundreds of millions of people, we will be able to cope with the most difficult tasks as soon as possible and move as quickly as possible to the new management system that we created.